G'day everyone, I am AzureBlaze, and welcome back to another Does Anyone Remember? The series of short videos where I briefly analyse and discuss my feelings on something game related that I do not really see anyone talking about. This year, 2023, is the 45th anniversary of the Space Invaders franchise. Therefore, I feel it is somewhat fitting to return to a game from 20 years ago that celebrates the 25th anniversary of the series. Whilst I have briefly discussed this game in my top 5 PlayStation 2 games video, I plan to discuss more about what is included in the package for this episode. Without further ado, I present Does Anyone Remember Space Invaders Anniversary? Released on the PC and PlayStation 2 in 2003 to mark the 25th year of the series, Space Invaders Anniversary, developed by the Taito Corporation and published by Empire Interactive, is a compilation of various arcade versions of the Space Invaders game and its sequels to that point. The pack incorporates 9 different versions of the game displayed in a small arcade-like room. It allows the player to switch between the machines and view them in different positions in range from an immersive angle for the arcade-type feel, to a close-up, almost full-screen view for practicality. Probably the first thing to note when launching the game is the options menu. This allows the player to change the point requirements and lives, adjust the screen, toggle vibration, change the arcade's background music and its volume, and save and load data. Rotating through the cabinets, starting from right to left, there is the coloured tabletop version of Space Invaders Part 2, the upright version of Space Invaders Part 2, the upright coloured version of the base Space Invaders, the coloured, monochrome and cellophane tabletop versions of the base Space Invaders, Space Invaders Versus Mode, Space Invaders 3D Mode, and Space Invaders Doubles, before arriving on what is stated as the secret files. Moving any more will take the player to an exit option whilst looking at some doors. The Space Invaders Secret Files section holds a variety of different merchandise and development materials based around Space Invaders. As someone who has always enjoyed a simple game of Space Invaders, as a kid this was one of my primary PS2 games after my family brought it off a second-hand seller. With that in mind, I have a fair amount of nostalgia towards this game, however looking back at it, I feel I can see how it may not be for everyone. If the multiple versions of the same game are counted as one, it effectively changes the number of cabinets from 9 to 5, which I feel could get somewhat monotonous after a while. I think my favourite of the games would probably be the 3D mode. I feel the almost third and first person view that can be applied to this game makes for a fun, different perspective of the normal screen. The versus mode is quite fun as well in my opinion, as it changes the formula somewhat to make battling someone else a viable style. On the topic of performance, while I am not the most qualified person to judge, I feel however they achieve putting the games into the collection, whether by emulation or rebuilding them, seems to work well with no noticeable problems from what I can personally see. In saying that, however, I have never played an original version of the cabinets to compare, therefore there may be some differences that I am completely unaware of. When it comes to presentation, I feel I quite like the smaller arcade style and the different options for views over the machines. Some smaller fun things like inserting a coin as well helps to increase the immersion in my opinion. As someone who quite enjoys seeing video game history, having all these different versions, no matter how small a change, is a fun novelty personally, and the secret files give some good little interesting extras to look at, for myself at the very least. Overall, whilst I quite enjoy the game and its contents, whether because of nostalgia or my admiration for the series, I can understand why it may be content lacking and fairly basic for others. Therefore, if I were to recommend this game, I could probably best recommend it as a fun novelty with some nice background on the series up to that point in 2003. However, for now, I believe that is all from me. I hope everyone enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and I shall be back in the next one. Cheers everyone!